starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
And now is the time that Drew would be giving his intro, but Drew's not here. So I'm your host, Scott Biscobing. To my left is my co-host tonight, Nick Faber. And to my right, in-studio guest, Jonny Baumann from Drop 'em Outdoors. So, yeah, Drew, we miss you. We miss your radio voice. I mean, he's really got a voice for radio, doesn't he?
He's got a face for radio.
Well, we all do. I know I do. But yeah, Drew, we miss you. Drew's not here tonight. We were supposed to have the big foursome here tonight, but Drew's under the weather. But Nick is filling in for Drew. Nick was going to be here anyways because we're going to be talking a little bit of waterfowl hunting here with Jonny. It's kind of Drop 'em Outdoors, kind of your forte.
I'd say so, yeah.
It's kind of your guys' thing. So amongst other things, I mean, it's not just you're not duck hunting outdoors.
Yeah, no, we do a little bit of everything.
Exactly. Sure. So, but we want to welcome everybody to another episode. This is our second episode here in the new studio. We're excited to be doing it. Hopefully, we don't have any technical difficulties tonight like we did last week. But if we do, that's why we're on a slant here, because we are the slanted half-ass show. We do our best to keep it real. Isn't that right, Luke? Oh, there he is. He had to. We told
That's my one per show.
We told him to tone it down on the air horn, and well, we'll see how much he obliges tonight. But yeah, we're super excited for another episode. We're happy to have Jonny. Welcome, Jonny.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, you and I started talking at Deer Fest up in Oshkosh this year.
Yeah, I ran into you and I was like, hey, I saw Jeremy was on here. I'm like, hey, if you ever want to shoot a podcast, you let me know.
Yeah, that's right. We had Jeremy Krieger from Beerfoot Travel. In fact, I got the sticker right here on my drink.
Man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, JMO, as it were. Yeah, so we got to talking a little bit, and you're a local guy here, so it's like, well, yeah, it'd be perfect. Come into the studio, man. We love. I mean, we'll take guests from anywhere, any place, anytime, and that. But it's always a little more exciting, a little more fun when you can be in studio and sharing cocktails and stuff. And you got one. You're good. You got your Yingling. You got the latte going.
I do.
I got nobody knows. But yeah, so Jonny. Actually, Jonny, before we get into it, I just want to real quick, Luke, if you could bring it up. For those of you guys watching exclusively on Facebook, I want to let you guys know that we are also on YouTube as well. We just started doing that last year. And if you are watching on YouTube, or if you're not yet, please check out the stream on YouTube and give us a like on the shows. And most importantly, if you could, subscribe and maybe hit that notifications button so you can stay up to date on all of our upcoming episodes. So, Jonny, Drop 'em Outdoors. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it all started in 2020.
Way back.
Yeah, way back. Me and my buddy were sitting in the truck going up duck hunting, and we're like, man, we should just start filming our hunts, and we should start doing it. And all of a sudden, the Wheeler Walker song came on, Drop 'em Out.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
You know the famous song. And
Yep.
so we're sitting there, I'm like, dude, that'd be a great one. Drop 'em out. And he's like, Drop 'em Outdoors. So that's how it stuck, and we just went with it and started creating content just naturally. I mean, we weren't thinking we were going to be where we're at now, but I mean, it was just a fun time, me and him just hunting, shooting the shit, and killing stuff. So.
Yeah, and you guys have come a long ways already here in the last few years.
Yeah, it's absolutely been a grind, and it's been such a blessing to have so many people, just follow along and be a part of it. It's amazing.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, where I ran into you this year at Deer Fest was you guys had your own booth there already. So
Yeah, and that was our first one ever.
yeah,
So it was really exciting to do that this year. We met so many cool people to finally see our actual following, followers on Instagram, YouTube, whatever, and being able to meet them in person is so cool.
yeah. Oh, most definitely. I mean, we did a booth at Deer Fest 2 years ago when it was down here, and we did a bunch of like live podcasts throughout the weekend. Bringing in different people, letting them kind of promote their products and stuff. We had everybody from Chase Nation was on that weekend at one point. It was great. We were able to bring Sam Ubel and Jared Scheffler on together and that so they could talk about some of their hunts together when Sam spent some time doing some filming and hunting with Jared with Whitetail Adrenaline. So, I mean, when you're at those trade shows and you get to meet people and meet your followers and get new followers and stuff, I mean, that's what it's really all about. And we're looking forward to doing some trade shows this next year and setting, a booth up again and doing live streams from those. That's always a lot of fun. You get a lot of ambient noise and stuff. And in fact, it was unfortunate that when we did the show with Sam and Jared, it was like on Sunday afternoon, right towards the end, like maybe like the last hour and there was some breaking down going on from some other booths. And there was like poles hitting the ground, like clanking and stuff. We're like, oh, this is such a good show, to get these guys both on at the same time. I mean, I know they've done some like with Working Class and stuff like that as well. But I was like, oh, geez, I mean, we got another hour here. Can you ease up on the clanking of the poles? But yeah, trade shows are a lot of fun. It was really cool running into you guys. How many guys you got on your team?
So it's just me personally that run the business, but I have ambassadors. So we got ambassadors in Tennessee, Florida, Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama. So all over the country that, they're a part of the team and they do a lot of wonders for me, with content, and they're just awesome people to have around.
How many ambassadors would you say you have?
We have 13.
13? Okay. Yep. Did you say that?
I might have.
Johnny, would Rye Guy 29 be an ambassador?
A good chance. Yeah, good chance.
What about Nick Steffick?
Nick? No, he's just a legend.
Okay.
Just a legend.
And Johnny, your mom is proud.
Oh, well, that's good.
Hey, your mom's watching.
Mom's watching. Carry with the shout out.
You watch your mouth, mister.
I better.
So, all right. So you guys started out a song, kind of struck it up like we should film. You came up with a name based off of a song. You got your ambassadors and stuff. But tell me a little bit more. Like, what is Drop 'em Outdoors? Or what do you guys? So what is your goal, or what is your?
So Drop 'em Outdoors is just making lifelong memories with friends and family, and just meeting new people, getting out there and having a good time.
Just kind of documenting it along the way.
And to me, it's not all about the kill. It's more the grind and just meeting new people and having a good time.
Yeah. And you're a young man.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's fantastic that that is the goal that you kind of want to go with. Or that mindset per se, as opposed to we're going to go out there and be trophy hunters or we're going to be the best of the best or anything like that. I mean, we all want to be successful. But to have that mantra of it's about the memories, it's about the camaraderie, it's about the friendships that you create and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that's fantastic. I feel like in a lot of ways, that's kind of what we do with Midwest and that. Like when we started out with Midwest, we were doing how-tos once in a while, and I was just never really comfortable with that. I wanted to be the guy talking to other people, letting other people kind of share their stories and stuff instead of being come across as an expert, because by no means am I an expert at anything. I mean, I can pound some back like a pro, but I mean, right? I mean, isn't that kind of your draw to us as well, Nick?
Yeah.
Like when you joined in that, like,
Yeah.
just kind of a fun group of guys. That
Yeah,
we
just
wanna have a
adding
good
in,
time.
just bringing the content that I can bring and the little bit of knowledge that I do
Right.
have and the random success that I do have.
Yeah, on this random.
Yeah, he actually gets just handed like randomly. Yeah.
So, I mean, we hashtag everything, and we finish every show with that tagline of "always outdoors," and it's just crazy. Like when Nick joined the team, I'm like, if there's anybody in this entire team, and this is not to talk down on anybody on the team, but like if anybody epitomizes that mantra or that tagline of "always outdoors," it's this guy, because I'm like, my God, and it's not you're not a single man.
No.
I mean, you have a wife, you have kids. Like, I've got a wife. I've got one wife. I've only got one wife and one kid. No, I'm just kidding. And I'm like, just to try to find the time to constantly be out there and getting after it. And you're a big waterfall hunter.
Yep.
You're a big waterfall hunter. I mean, Nick, you can jump in at any time and start asking anything
absolutely.
about the waterfall stuff. Is that where you guys, is that your bread and butter, so to speak? Is it the waterfall hunting?
Yeah, I would say waterfall hunting.
Is that something you were brought up, or
Yeah,
is it
that's what
something
I was-
you just started like with your friends?
Yeah, I was brought up waterfowl hunting more, and we've always had more success. We hunt deer hunting. We always just gun hunted way up in Minocqua. Success was, you shot a 5-pointer, like that kind of stuff, or a doe. But no, I just caught a love for waterfowl. It's just the challenge of it and everything else, and like the way you can just sit there and bullshit in the blind and stuff, and
Yeah.
not have to worry about being quiet, and the camaraderie. That's just a huge thing for me. So yeah,
Sure.
I would say that's our bread and butter. But we do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the duck blind or on the boat or whatever, you got multiple other buddies with you and stuff. I mean, it can be an absolute blast. One of the things, honestly, like I enjoy about turkey hunting with friends and that. Now, I know some guys are all about doing it by themselves, but a lot of times it'll be me and Mike from the team and my brother, and whether I'm filming or one of them's filming, in those down times or whatever, you can sit there and you can talk and kind of, shoot the shit a little bit and enjoy yourselves and not have to like watch your, if you're sitting in a blind, you don't have to watch your movement as much. You can talk and things like that. And I would imagine that's much the same. My waterfall hunting has been mostly what I would call like stalking, on rivers, and that's solo.
Jump shooting and
yeah,
stuff,
jump
yeah.
shooting and stuff. I know Mike from our team, he's done his share. I mean, I've got a duck boat, John boat, and blind in my backyard. It just sits there though. And it's driving my wife nuts, to be honest. Mike, it's time for you to take it over to your house for a while. But yeah, I mean, and you're real big into waterfall hunting too.
Yeah.
You said you didn't go maybe as much this year, but
Yeah, this year wasn't the best for me for success. I didn't do a whole lot of scouting. I didn't really chase a whole lot of ducks. I did, after I got my buck, I went out to La Crosse, which is, if you haven't been out there, even if you're not shooting birds, it's just gorgeous. The landscape, the water, the hunters are very respectful. It's really, really nice to be out there. Plus, if it's a little bit slower, it's great fishing, walleyes and perch. I mean, and that's what we ended up doing a couple days in the afternoon because it was kind of slower. But yeah, no, I love it this year. Just didn't pan out the way that it usually does for me, but you'll have those years.
yeah. And in terms of success this year, what did you guys find? Because what I've been hearing from a lot of waterfowl hunters in Wisconsin here, and in certain parts anyways, that it's been vastly different from other years. And what do you guys have any thoughts, or what do you equate that to?
I would say so. I mean, early season there was local birds. I mean, we did good. We limited out both weekends, northern opener and southern opener for ducks. But it was just like after that, it kind of like after the third weekend, it got real stale real quick. And like the birds pushing down, I think it got real cold like mid-October, and like some pushed out, but no birds really pushed into the locations I was in. So it was like you had to scratch.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But I mean, I would say even later this season, like, I almost wish I had another 2-3 weeks because I know the mallards are starting to pour down now.
We say that every year. I wish that they'd personally eliminate the teal hunt or change something up, push it back, because every year it's always like, okay, it's kind of slow, it sucks. And then it's like 2 weeks later, right before Christmas almost, it's rivers are packed with just these gorgeous greenheads, and we have to sit there and say, oh, that'd be kind of cool to shoot those right now.
Right?
Yeah.
Every year. Every year.
Every time. Yep, absolutely.
What do you guys feel about like with goose hunting and that this year? Because I know we talked a little bit before the show as well that like just not seeing those big flocks of geese flying over, whether just being here in town and just being used to like going outside and hearing flocks go over to sitting in tree stands and in almost 2 hours away from here and just being like, wow, is this even fall? Like I'm not hearing these big flocks of geese. Have they changed their migration up, or is it weather related, or what are your thoughts on that?
For that one, I'd honestly like to go to all the people that track them, the banding, the GPS trackers and the birds. I'd like to know. I did notice the same thing. I didn't see as many birds as I usually do. I mean, there was many nights where I didn't see a single goose or hear one fly over me. And I'm in an area that's near town where there's a lot of areas they sit and roost, and I wasn't seeing and hear them. Yeah, there was birds every night almost, but it wasn't like some nights I'd sit there for 45 minutes and it would just be flock after flock after flock to the point where I'm sitting there, maybe I should have went goose hunting tonight, not deer hunting. And this year there wasn't one time that I said, dang, I wish I was goose hunting instead of sitting in the tree stand.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. It's been tough. And like the birds you do find, they've been in the city parks and whatever.
Yep.
I mean, like, it hasn't been as prevalent. I think, like, definitely, like, we were talking, I think they're pushing towards Lake Michigan a lot more. That migration changed this year a little bit. You
Yep.
know?
And even then, I mean, it's just, there's a lot more pressure too. I mean, that's the thing. Like a couple of years ago, it was still pressure, but not like I've seen now. I mean, opening day when I drove around just this area, I bet you there's 15 people out, 15 different groups in fields. And I'm like, I've never seen that before. So I think that's another thing too, the pressure. I mean, you get enough people out there banging them up. It was nice when you could hunt one field and then the next day you could go to the other field they were going to. Now everybody's hitting them up. Well, now they're just sitting by the Walmart pond. They're sitting in the mill ponds. Sure. They don't want to leave because they're like, yeah, where are we going to go? They'll go into the parks now and they'll feed around early. So the more pressure too will keep them just local city stuck in there till the, migration comes and they head down south to Illinois.
Sure. And you think that's what I mean, do you think there's any other reason for it other than pressure? Or,
I think that does a lot. You know what I mean? Like, if they try two fields and they're getting banged up in both, they ain't going to come back. They're going to figure out where they're safe and they're going to stick to it. If they get a food source that's safe, they're going to stick to it.
And you won't know till the next day because early season, they really only feed once for the most part. They will go in the afternoon, but not as much. So if it gets banged up there, you got to basically give a whole day up to go scout and find the new field.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, we got a question?
Yeah, two things. One, Johnny, your dad said he's proud, and we're supposed to call you Rook.
Oh, God.
And the question, though, off the request line, Ronnie Schmidt, Johnny, what was your favorite hunt of the year?
My favorite hunt of the year? Oof. I don't know. So North Dakota was crazy. I got two favorite hunts this year. So North Dakota, we hunted a snowstorm, and it was like a blizzard. You couldn't see 50 yards in front of you. So we would just all go down the blind. We'd all be sitting there calling, take turns because you run out of breath. All of a sudden, you just see like 50 of them come out of the sky. And it was just like, boom, 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 you plow them. I think Jeremy was laying out in the middle of the field at one point, just laying there looking up and having birds drop over the top of him. It was just nuts. And that was by far one of the coolest hunts ever. I think we ended up with, I want to say almost 30-some birds. It was just, we pounded them. And then early season, the first weekend of Northern Opener, me and my dad, we went up north, and the lake was drained 10 feet. So, like, it was, like, down. So we took my canoe up there. Me and my pops hopped in the canoe the night before. We slept on an island together. We had a bottle of bourbon, sipping bourbon all night by the campfire, pitched a tarp, and we ended up shooting a limited ducks together, me and my pops. And that morning, the first 2 hours, we shot one duck, and it was a merganser. We're like, oh, my God, this is a bust.
That's it.
So then we started scratching for birds and, jump shooting. And we ended up with the full limit, and no, it was just such a blast, man.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to happen from one minute to the next out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess back to the the change in migration or whatever. I mean, you guys said pressure in that. Is there any truth to, because one of the things I've been hearing is that migration patterns have changed. Do you guys think there's anything to that? Because I mean, for years, for a long time, I mean, now we have pelicans all over here in Wisconsin and that, but that was never the case. And it's not because they didn't exist, but they changed migration patterns.
Yep.
Now, I mean, obviously, I think there's far more Canadian geese than there is pelicans probably out there. But you've heard this over the years, I think, even like with swans and snow geese and stuff like that. Is there any truth to the migration patterns? And do you guys have any thoughts if that is the case, why that even happens? Like what causes that? Or is it kind of one of those unknowns? Or
It could be. I mean, temps, I mean, sure, weather, wind. I've noticed sometimes with the wind on certain years, if we get a strong west wind, all of a sudden 2 days later, we got a lot of birds here. Another
Kinda
thing
drifts
too.
them in.
Yeah. Sure. I've had that. We've shot a couple of bands from North Dakota that it was a hard wind for 2 days, and bam, we shot a couple of bands, and we're thinking local, and North Dakota, we're like, oh, what the heck? And I think another big thing is too, I mean, when I watch the DU numbers and stuff, the last couple of years, it hasn't been increasing for most ducks. Most of them have been decreasing. We're not seeing those high numbers like we have been with the drought. Then when we get high rain and stuff and it floods them, I think that's a big thing that we're just not seeing the numbers. If the DU numbers are correct, what they've been doing the last 2 or 3 years, it hasn't been in our favor.
I think they're pretty accurate too.
Yeah.
So I agree.
I
would
believe
say-
they are. I'm just saying if they are, I don't want to, some people are real statistical. So if they're accurate, I believe that. And it's reflecting, it's showing from our hunts. So
Yeah. I mean, from the hatch here, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's been a weird year. That's for sure. Absolutely.
I've never seen anything like it.
we got another question, Luke?
Yeah, Brian wanted to know maybe your thoughts on windmills.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that's.
I've heard of it affecting it. I didn't really follow too much, but I have heard, a lot of people say that I guess the birds fly into them, bump into them, they get hit. But I think, I mean, the biggest thing, I mean, that affects them, but I think
they avoid it too. Like,
yeah,
I think like that pushes them kind of
different areas.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I guess I never really looked into it. But
Neither. I heard it though. I heard it's a statistic again on the birds. So.
Yeah, that's interesting because, I mean, here, especially in the southern part of the state, I mean, we have these large swaths of acres and acres and that of windmills.
The Elmira, Fond du Lac, they're pretty thick there.
Right, and then you go a little bit, but it's kind of through that central part. Mm-hmm. And I've always kind of wondered what about that part of the state in particular is the reason for the windmills. I guess never enough to do any research on it, I guess. But, why are the windmills? And because it kind of runs, you're going to have your north and south, but then it seems to kind of run west. Is there something about that section of the state?
the west side of the state you're talking?
Well, just how it runs from east to west, but more that you don't have them way down south and you don't have them as far up north. It's kind of right through, like through northern Washington, Fond du Lac, and then you keep going along into Green Lake and Marquette and Dodge County and stuff like that. It seems to kind of run that way. Is there something with the air pattern in that section and that, I don't know.
It could be. I think the biggest thing is it comes down to farmers. They'll come around, they'll ask how many, 15, 20, 30 different farmers. And if they all agree to do it together, then they say, okay, we're going to give you this much money, but they need that much land to make it profitable for them.
Yeah.
So if they can land 30 properties and they can take up, 300, 400 acres and they can put it all up on those, the farmers make money and then they make money because they're not going to do it if they only have like 50 acres and they could put up 3. Well, there ain't nothing there for them.
Yeah.
So that's my guess. Again, I don't know. That's just a wild guess.
Well, and it's interesting too because a lot of those go like right around the Theresa Marsh as well, which, I mean, I don't know that that's a contributing factor to this year because these windmills have been up for many, many years now. So, What do you got there? Go ahead, Luke.
Just another question from Clark Boy. Can you give an honest opinion about my dad waking you up on an island?
Wow, this sounds.
Oh, okay. Now let's retrack into last year. All right. So me and one of my ambassadors came up from from Texas, and we're sitting there. We I don't know. It was probably an hour before opening, and I think we were just sitting there. We had our light on the tree, and all of a sudden, this dude walks up, and we're sleeping because we're tired. We had pulled an all-nighter, and we're sleeping there. He walks up, and we're like, holy shit, who is this, you know? And no, it was funny. So we ended up hunting together because they wanted to hunt the same spot. So we ended up hunting together, and we banged him up pretty good on the Wisconsin River. It was a fun time, but it was funny. It was just like one of those things you're like, you know, you wake up, you're like, who the hell is this, you know?
Right.
But no, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you said you've had some kind of random like encounters with guys that you end up like, you know, out on the water, and then you end up kind of hooking up, hunting together, or, you know, get to know each other and stuff. And
It's awesome. I mean, you certain areas you run into not the nicest people. I mean, Rush Lake, on the actual lake, I've run into a lot of people that they think they have a blind, they own the water. Rush Lake, you can put up blinds. People show up 10 minutes before shooting. But on the paddle inside of Rush Lake, one of my favorite memories is, I wish I could remember the guy's name and his dad. Me, Joel, and Jeff, we were back in the pothole. We paddled back. We scouted it. Got in there, and we're like, okay, we got this. And it was a pain to get back there. I mean, we were dripping. We were T-shirts and waders, or no shirts and waders. And these guys came paddling through, and nicest guys in the world. I'm like, as soon as they came up, I'm like, great, here we go again. Oh, this is our pothole, some crap. And he comes over real nice, and he's like, hey, you know, we were going to go behind you guys. There's a pothole not too far, like 100 yards away. We won't shoot your swing birds or anything. You guys mind if we go there? And I looked at my buddies, and I'm like, you want to just hunt with us? And they look at us like, what? Yeah, we would do that. And I'm like, yeah. And we talked to the same thing out in that area, that they run into a lot of people that are very stubborn and whatnot. We had a great hunt. I think we were honestly only a few short of a 5-man limit. So it was an awesome hunt, and got the guy's number. He invited us a couple times for some field hunts up there that he has. And it just never worked out with the schedule with bow hunting and whatnot with the rut. So I never did. And I still have his number. I just got to remember his name. But it was a great conversation, great talk, great hanging out with them. Super nice guys. And that's the way the sport's supposed to be. It drives me nuts when people are so angry and they're always yelling. Like, we're out there to have a fun time. Like, let's go back to the reason we're here.
Yeah.
We don't really care about shooting the limited ducks. We don't care about the meat that you're going to get off them, because you ain't getting that much meat. Yeah. It ain't like you're getting a prize package here. You know, we're out here to have fun and enjoy ourselves. Let's all just get along like it should be.
Yeah, some people focus on the kill too much.
Yeah.
You know, it's not all about that.
Yep. It's the experience. I mean, that's what we're there for. That's the big thing about guides. Like, you know, when people go with guides, growing up, I thought you go with a guide, you're going to go guarantee catch your limit of fish. You're going to guarantee shoot your limit. You're going to get what you want because I'm paying you. You have to give me that. And then after I went with a couple guides and I've helped out on a couple trips and stuff, I realized, like, oh man, that's not what it's about. Like, they're doing the same thing that we're doing, but it's people that don't have the time to scout and do the work that are doing it for them to help these people that don't have poles, that don't have boats, that don't have guns, that don't have decoys, that don't have the land permission. That's what you're paying for, and you're paying for the experience. And I learned after doing it for a while too, and I never realized it, and no one really ever said it, was you're paying to enjoy the day. That's it. If it's a great hunt, it's great. You're not paying for a limit. If you want that, you know, you're going to have to go for 5, 6, 7 days straight, and you're going to get it then. But you can't expect one random day that you booked this year for next year on, let's say October 5th, that you're going to go goose hunting in a field and it's going to be great. Yeah. Okay, let's say October 5th, it's 60-mile-an-hour winds and it's snowing or raining. You think the birds are going to fly?
Yeah, right.
No. And you think it's the guide's fault that the weather turned out crap on a day that you booked a year ago?
Yeah.
Whose fault is it?
Right.
And shout out to the guides for that, man.
Yeah.
Going through it. I mean, they're trying their hardest.
Yeah.
They give it their all. So, I mean, it's not a knock on them, man.
No.
It's the people. They got to understand it's hunting. It's not killing.
Yep. And that's the thing that I learned and I saw when people are guiding and taking people out, and then they get mad and they get upset and they give them a bad review. And it's like, put yourself in their shoes. They did the work. They did the scouting. They tried doing their best. It's not like they didn't scout for 5 days straight to help you out. You know, and then people are like, well, the last 3 days you guys nailed them. Well, the last 3 days it was gorgeous. It was sunny. It was like a 10-mile-an-hour wind, or it was cloudy. It was just a little bit of a mist. It was perfect conditions. Yeah. I mean, you go fishing 5 days in a row, you think you're going to catch the same amount of fish every single day?
Yeah, right. Exactly. No. Yeah. Yeah, and that's all really good points because, I mean, you're paying for the experience. You're paying for the opportunity.
Yep.
But you're not paying for necessarily the outcome.
Yeah.
Because there's so many variables involved. So yeah, that's really spot on.
And speaking of birds, Nick has a question. Do you think duck season should be as long as goose season in Wisconsin?
I agree, sure, but with one thing. Either early or late, you got to change it up. Either give us another week off, give those ducks a break one more time, or change the limit a little bit, just a little bit. Because I think if you let go as long, it's going to affect those numbers in a negative way. As much as I am so competitive and I love to go shoot birds, I also try and think about the future for my kids and for other kids, that if we continue to do something to benefit ourselves now, what are we going to do for them down the road? I like the idea, don't get me wrong, but we got to be fair with it and think about the future of everybody else.
Yeah, we gave them another break week where they can push out.
I'm in.
A big group.
Yep.
Especially like, even like last weekend.
Yes.
Make that the break week.
Yep.
And then, continue in another week or two.
I'm in for that.
Yeah.
I'm in for that. Give a little and then get a little bit. I'm in. But a straight through, going through like basically what Goose does, makes me a little bit nervous what it could be doing for our future.
Especially because we were talking about like right at Christmas time, you see the rivers and they're stacked.
Exactly.
You want to go slam them.
And that's what I'm thinking.
But
that's why I said
it's
I'll give
all
a
right
week.
because next year they might move down faster. So
Hopefully, if we get the weather. It seems like the last 3 years it's been kind of warm. I mean, we had this cold spell now and the rivers are filling up. Today it warmed up again. I noticed they were kind of kicking back out into lakes and whatnot again.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Hopefully that answered your question, Nick.
Ooh, one last thing I forgot to add.
Go ahead.
The thing on guides as well, when you're going with a guide, the number one thing that you're going to get out of that trip and what they should be able to do for you, if for some reason they can't provide you the best trip that you want, you should be drilling them. What kind of baits to use? When do you fish this time of year, this year? Drill them for every bit of information. Squeeze them like a lemon and suck it all out, because even when I'm shooting or catching fish, I go with like my buddy Brian Klein, muskie fishing. I will drill him nonstop about everything, all the different hunting and fishing that he does. And you got to remember, these guides, if they guide for one thing, they guide for many things. You're sitting in a blind with this person or in a boat with them. It could be 2 hours, it could be 8. You better be taking every bit of knowledge that they have, because if they're doing this for a living, they're probably more experienced than you at it.
Obviously,
and they've got more information for you. Take everything you can get out of it. If you can't catch fish, if you're not killing something, they're going to give you something if you just ask the right questions.
In your experience, is there a lot of positive feedback in there? Are they willing to give up that information?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're not going to give you their best spots. Like, you're not going to say, hey, where do you goose hunt? Where do you duck hunt? Like, no, but if you ask questions like, what decoys do you recommend? What shells do you like? What guns have you had the best luck with? Because I'm sure you've seen how many guns. What jams the most? Fishing poles, what rods, reels, lures, what time of year do you fish for crappies, walleyes? These guys do almost all of it when it comes to fishing and hunting. You can ask them all those questions. What have you noticed has been the worst? What's been the best for you? What days do you like?
Yeah, and I've been blessed enough, like when I go out to North Dakota, Nathan and my buddy Jared, like they've been out there for like 15, 16 years.
Are we talking Jared Warney?
Oh, yeah.
Legend.
Yeah, he's awesome. But no, I drill him with questions. I kind of feel bad because, I'm asking so many questions, but at the same time, I'm just trying to soak it up.
Yeah.
Because they got 16 years of knowledge. I'm like 2 years out there. And out there, they told me straight up, it's a different game.
Every
it's
year.
a whole different game.
Yep.
So, like, it was so cool for them to give me that information. I soak it up as much as I can. But, man, those guys have it down pat.
Yeah.
Well, and I think in a lot of ways you're going to get a number of people that are going to these outfitters and want to have this bravado of like, well, I know what I'm doing too, kind of a thing. And when you ask all these questions and stuff, there's this level of thinking like, well, they just think I'm a novice, or I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Let them think that you're a novice. You know why? If you let them think you're a novice, they'll tell you more information.
right? They're probably giving
They'll
you.
think this guy's so dumb, I'll tell him everything and he won't know what to do. And in reality, you have it all. So either way it goes, it's even better if they think you're dumb.
But it's an ego thing.
Yeah.
I think with a lot of guys,
Yeah.
like everybody wants to think that they're the best and they know. And by asking questions, like, oh, if I ask this question, is this guy going to think like, oh, I can't believe you would ask such a obvious question or something,
Yeah.
you know, that like he should obviously know this, but because I think there's a level of that.
Yeah.
I mean, we see that on social media all the time. Like,
Everybody
if
thinks
you
they
ask
know
a question
everything.
on social media on any of these pages, you get ripped apart. Like, you get the laughing emojis, you get the like, well, it's like everybody's at a different point. I mean, when it comes to me with waterfowl hunting, well, I've got a plethora of questions, you know, just because I'm, you know, very novice in the waterfowl area and stuff. But I'm also that guy that I wouldn't be trying to be something that I'm not or know more than I know. I want to gather that information as much as I can. So that's a really good point. Don't be afraid to ask. I mean, who cares?
Yeah. That's what they're there for. Like I said,
know.
and every guide that I've been with, every
And eventually
outfit,
you might get to be that guy.
yeah, yeah, and every outfit that I've been, you know, with and on, every time they've never once got annoyed. I've even said, like, if I'm bothering you, just let me know. I'm like, no, I like this. Like, you know, most people just sit here and they expect that we're going to be catching or shooting, and they don't talk. And he's like, you know how awkward it is sitting on a boat or in a blind with someone that doesn't say a word or like talks every 5 to 20 minutes that says a few things, and you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do?
Sure.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Right.
What do I do? So that's what they're there for. I mean, like I said, most of the time they'll give you anything that you want to know besides their spots.
Yeah. So, you know, what's different though, like when you take kids though, is they're not afraid to ask questions.
No,
And
they're not.
So like this next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after here in December, I'm doing a mentor hunt with Camo Outdoors, or Kids and Mentors Outdoors is what it is, KAMO. And it's their annual Joe hunt. It's during the Wisconsin antlerless season. The
T-zone, whatever it's called now.
yeah, you think it used to be T-zone. Now it's just an antlerless weekend. But these kids are allowed to shoot bucks.
Oh,
So
nice.
what this is, it's not your typical youth hunt. This is it's a mentor hunt thing for kids that have never been out hunting, maybe that want to get into it, but don't necessarily have somebody take them out. They haven't hunted before. They haven't even gone through hunter safety. They go through a 1-day course
Yep.
in that, but they don't handle the firearms until it's time to shoot. You know,
Yep.
we carry them out, we handle it, we load it for them, and then it's time to shoot. And we hunt different properties that are set up by the organization. It's a lot of private properties or landowners that allow us to come out and hunt their properties, and they kind of
That's
set their
awesome.
own rules for it as well. You know, like the property.
Yeah, they're
we
still
hunted
letting you on
last
the
year-
land, so I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Like the property we hunted last year, Jordan and I, the kid that I was with, the landowner said, you know, I want it to be doe only unless you see this one buck, because he was really skinny. He thought he was sick and stuff, maybe CWD
cull
or something
buck,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah. He's like, he's got a really nice rack, but he's like, I don't think he's going to make it through the winter anyways. So if you see him, by all means, you can take him. And we're actually on that same property this year. I don't know if we're going to be under those same restrictions. But anyways, back to my point. When you're out there with these kids, and we're talking like, you know, 9, 10-year-olds that have an interest in getting into the outdoors. Like my kid, I was like, man, going into this last year, I'm like, oh, I hope I don't have a kid that just is like, you know, like won't shut up, you know, because it's like, but I also don't want a kid that's just going to sit there with his arms crossed and like be afraid to say anything.
on their tablet playing games.
Oh, I mean, that's
Right.
absolutely not allowed. That is not allowed. But my kid was great. I mean, probably one of the most, probably better than I was at that age about being out in the woods and stuff. Like, I handed him my Vortex binoculars, and he's just all day.
Glass.
Like, just, you know, like, here's some trail mix. He eats some trail mix, and he's just glass. Just totally on point, but like asking questions. And I think there's something to be said about that, about wanting to learn how to do it. And I think as adults, we get to that point where we're afraid to ask questions.
Nope.
Because social media has time and time again shot people down for asking those kinds of questions. Like, you're made to feel stupid. There's plenty of good guys out there that are going to be like, you know, hey, no, there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Yeah.
Like, we're all different points in our hunting careers or whatever you want to say. But yeah, I think, like you said, that's a really, really good point. If you're going to spend the time, paying for an outfitter, take some knowledge back. You know, don't just sit back there and just let somebody else kind of do the work for you, and not, whether you are successful in that hunt, come back with some knowledge.
Yeah.
At least. I mean,
Now his ear's going to get talked off. He can thank me for that one.
We do have a question here from Mike Mason. Has TSS shot changed the game in waterfall? In the PNW, it's popular to shoot TSS shells and a 410 for turkey. Just curious.
I think it has. I mean, the knockdown power on it and stuff, it's completely different, you know, compared to just steel shot.
No.
So, I mean, I personally, to be honest, I don't use it. I use steel shot. I use Migra. I love Migra, the stack shot.
I don't think I've ever shot that. I'm the cheap guy. I use the blue Federal box.
Yeah, dude. I mean, realistically, people, I feel like, look way too far into it. All right? Like, we're not trying to kill birds at 60, 70 yards. Get them in your face. You got a good shot, you'll kill them.
Unless you're using that Winchester silver box.
Yeah, right?
I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. I used that for a couple of years, and
which one is that? The
what is it? High velocity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
1700 FPS or something.
Yeah,
crazy.
I used a couple of them, and I'm like, I didn't like it. I'm like, nope. I tried Black Cloud when it first came out. I thought that was the greatest thing. It was the cat's meow, and I didn't know you're not supposed to use it through a pattern master at that time. Thank God I didn't blow my barrel up. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you got ducks at 20, 30 yards. I mean, a 410 should drop them right there. I mean,
Right.
So.
No, I hear where he's coming from, though. I mean that shot is way denser, and it will smack a lot harder.
Yep.
So, I mean, if it's affordable for you, go ahead, use it, because
Yep.
you're going to smack the hell out of them.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, as the average Joe blue-collar worker, you know, I ain't going to spend over $300 or $400, $500, $600 on a case of shells, you know.
The only way it would is if you're only going out a couple times a year and you want it to count then. But if we're blowing through like what me and you would go through on a good year, 2 to 3 cases, yeah, I mean, that would kind of suck. But if you're only going out, you know, let's say 10, maybe 12 times a year, I would spend the money because I want to make sure that I can get what I can get, use the knockdown, get it done.
Yeah.
It all depends on how much you're burning up and how much money, I guess, you want to put into it.
Yeah, and my biggest fear from it is people are going to start thinking, oh, yeah, I can hit that bird at 70, 80 yards up. I mean, we've all
They
seen
already do that. They've been doing that for how many years?
steel shot, and it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. You're trying to have fun, whatever, but at the same time, you know, you're not even going to kill that duck, and if you do wound it, it's going to coast a mile. And
I
good
see
luck
it so many
finding it.
times. Birds getting sailed, like the bird goes over the top and they're shooting at it, and behind them's like a mile long cattails, and it's like, I mean, if you got a really good dog, yeah, but I mean, if that thing sailed, that thing hits the ground, they're gonna run all around and probably not be found.
Yeah.
I always wonder how many bands we lose every year. You ever think of that?
And
How
it
many
kills-
bands and neck collars and everything that
kills me.
we're never gonna see or find again because where they
That's
are
a really good question.
gone forever.
Dude, that's the worst thing ever.
I think every waterfowl that actually thinks about that right now, they all probably hate me for bringing that up. How many bands we lose, those neck collars, all those ones, double banded money rewards. Just think of the thousands we never get to see every year. You're welcome. You can't sleep tonight now.
That's a really good point. But yeah, I guess back to what Mike was saying about the TSS and that, and because it's been a long standing debate even with turkey hunting too. You know, like now obviously when you're talking about the price point and stuff, you know, spending that kind of money for a shot or two a season turkey hunting, yeah, that's nothing compared to what you're doing with waterfowl or whatever.
I
But
hear it from the turkey side. You know,
as far as what?
if you're going to use it for turkeys, I mean, you're only shooting once.
Right.
Hopefully once.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so Luke's indicating we were at the 45-minute mark, and I don't know where your guys' bladder is at, but I'm about at that point. Teetering to 3/4 to full right now. So
I got a
with that
catheter
said- Oh, yeah. He's got a stadium buddy over here. So with that said, we're going to take a brief intermission. Please stick with us, guys. Go to your fridge, get another drink, grab another beer, use the bathroom like we're going to. Stick with us we'll be back within the next 10 minutes here for the second half. And we have some hot topic items to talk about in terms of the 9-day gun deer season. So we're going to get some hot topic stuff here. So stick around. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you guys back here in about 10 minutes.
It's like we never left.
And we're back. Thanks for sticking around. Those of you that have stuck around, we're drinking out here. Sometimes you just gotta, especially when you're having some beers, right? I mean, gotta relieve yourself. So we always apologize. We actually have a new segment coming up, guys. And Nick, I don't know if I even told you this, but what we're going to be introducing here in the next, hopefully by the next episode here, is we're going to have a news segment, pre-recorded news segment that's going to play during our intermission. Chris Damali, our former co-host and co-founder of Midwest, is going to be kind of running with that, and we're excited because it's like, I don't like the intermission part of it, but it's kind of a necessity when we're sitting here drinking and having a good time. It's one of those things you kind of have to do. But in order to kind of keep our viewers sticking with us, we're going to go into a news segment. We're going to get into ice fishing here pretty soon, so we're going to do some ice reports and that kind of stuff. So there'll be something instead of just some elevator music.
I like it. No, I like it. That's awesome.
So, anyways, again, welcome back, guys, and we're happy to be joined by Jonny Baumann from Drop 'em Outdoors, and our sometime filling co-host Nick Faber, who always does an excellent job here with us. Drew, that's no knock on you.
Well, you jumped the gun a little bit here, Bisco. We got a comment here from a Kim
Drew?
From a Kim Biscuit. Nick is a great addition to the Midwest team. Applause emoji.
Oh, Drew's wife. Wow.
And then we have a Drew Biscuit that said, "Agreed. I might be out of a job."
Maybe I'll be out of the job.
But we did have a question roll in here during the break. Johnny from CC. Johnny, did you go turkey hunting this year?
Yeah, we did. We did early spring. I was unsuccessful. My buddies all shot one. We did. I think we were D.
Oh, D. Okay.
What zone?
We were up in Minocqua area.
Oh, okay.
But no, I was unsuccessful. My buddies shot them up. Then in fall, I said, "Screw it. We're goose hunting." And I'm like, look at all these turkeys. So I asked the farmer, "Hey, can I shoot a turkey?" He's like, "Yeah, shoot them all," like that kind of mentality. I'm like, all right. So I ended up going out, and we didn't see anything in the morning, so I started walking through the woods, and I saw 3 toms running up the crest of the hill. I'm like, all right. So I went and chased them. I ran them down. All of a sudden, one flew up, and I saw it flying. It was like duck hunting, dude. I got the video. I literally just, boom, shot it right in the air. It dropped. I'm like, no way I just hit that thing. Then I ran after it and stomped on it. But no, it was crazy. It was crazy. No, it was a good time.
Turkey hunting is nuts, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I know you do too. It's such a bizarre kind of hunting in terms of you can have birds that are super spooky, super wigged out, and then you can have just the dumbest tom in the world that will come walking right into your calls or right into your decoy, and you never know which one you're going to get, right? I mean, it's just so bizarre with them. But and that's what makes it fun. Like, you can have like one of the toughest grinded out years where it's like you're so close but you can't get it done. And then there's other years where it's like first 15 minutes, boom, done.
But that's like, it's over. Like, now what am I supposed to do with myself?
Like, can I get another tag for season E?
It's like you hate it when it takes like forever, but then you love it when you're done. You're like, no, wait, I don't want to be done that quick. Like,
yeah, it is. It's one of those things. But that at the same time, like, you can't, it's turkeys, right? It's like, well, that one might have a half-inch longer beard than another one or something. Like, no, you're just going to get after it when you got the chance because
you only have so many days.
Right. I mean, there's been years where we've grinded it out, gotten close, and then they duck into cover. Like, they're super spooky. 2 years ago was one of those years where we had quite a few coyotes running around our property, and the birds were really, really spooky. And then last year, I actually could have got it done the evening I set up my blind and brushed it in. It was getting a little bit late, and then all of a sudden, I could hear some gobbles at the bottom of the ridge. I'm like, I got my gun out here. I might be able to get it done tonight. But I'm like, or I could screw this all up because I know they're about to go to roost here.
Yep.
So I could just screw this whole thing up. So I'm like, I'm going to sneak out of here and come back first thing in the morning. And boom. Like, my brother was supposed to come up that evening. This was I was up there on a Thursday. I went out Friday morning. My brother was supposed to be up there Friday night, and he was going to film the next 3 days for me. Mm-hmm. Called him up at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm like, well, it's up to you, dude. You can come up if you want and hang out. We'll go to the bar up here and stuff. But I'm like, it's done. You know, like, it's a done deal already. And then he's like, "Wow, that's awesome." He's like, "And yeah, no, I'm not going to come up." Like, which kind of sucked, you know. We were going to be up there for like 3-4 days.
Yeah,
You should have lied to him.
Right, yeah, really. Yeah, right, exactly. And then his season was the following weekend, and then boom, we got it done that first morning. Later on in the morning, but again, first morning, same setup. So it's just one of those things where you never know, like, how your season's going to go or how the birds are going to react to calls or.
You guys are giving me goosebumps talking about turkey already. I mean, I'm not the biggest turkey advocate, but basically all the hunting's done for me now this year. So that's the only thing I'm rooting for now.
Yeah. Already thinking about it.
I know.
When they're sounding off in that early morning, man, it just gets you ready. You're
I
like,
had it
dang.
this year. Gun hunting, I had them gobbling. I'm like sitting there, I'm like, what?
Really?
And then all of a sudden they came on the field and one went to strut. And I'm like, excuse me, sir, are you confused?
No, I was actually deer hunting in this within 20 yards of where I shot my turkey last weekend, and they were coming down out of the roost. They were going to roost that night, same spot, and then I'm like, and then they came down, and I'm kidding you, if there wasn't 50 birds coming down. I mean, it was incredible. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm already.
I'm ready.
I'm like, I'm in deer hunting mode, but I'm like, I'm also at the same time, this is an awesome sign. This is great. They're still roosting in the same spot.
Yep.
Day after day, night after night. This is awesome. I can't wait for spring. I just hope like nothing changes, you know.
Yeah.
We got this big swath of like kettles and ridges with these giant oaks, and they just love going in there. They used to always roost in our pines. And then we had a select cut done, and that was probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And ever since then, they stopped going to the section of pines. Mm-hmm. And it was really close to an alfalfa field, which they always like going out to. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, with the select cut, now they've moved into the hard timber, into these oaks. And it says, all right, we just change up, you know, the pattern.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like with you guys with turkey hunting, like, do you run trail cameras?
Yeah.
Out like early season to try to kind of see where they're roosting or what they're because for the most part, they're going to pattern somewhat. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. At least that's what I've seen.
Yeah.
I don't know if.
I'll throw them out just for certain areas to see how big they are and what's coming through, and then if I can get them patterned to bring the bow. But
Yeah.
I'm still a sucker for the scoot and shoot.
Oh,
Yeah, we
dude,
already
that
went
is
over
the
that.
coolest thing ever.
Yeah, scoot and shoot is a lot of fun, for sure.
I tell you what, though. So you're talking about the turkey sitting in the pines. So like I hunt way up Minocqua, and for deer, and I'm out there. I climb down my stand, and there's a lot of wolves out there too. Mm-hmm. I'm walking back. All of a sudden, these turkeys just come piling out of these pines, and I about shit my pants, man. I was like, "What is that?" You know, you're just scared shitless. But no, yeah, turkey hunting's a blast. But I feel like I do a lot of just scouting. I don't do much trail cameras, but I kind of know where they are, where they're at, because I do a lot of trapping and whatnot too. So in winter and fall, I can kind of find out
See
where
their
they're
wintering
at.
paths
Yeah.
and roost.
I mean, and for me, like with having leases and stuff, like I just put them out there. Just, you know, it's one extra advantage I have, I guess, you know, doing that, just to kind of get an idea, you know, what times they're here or there and what days, because they won't necessarily do the same thing day after day in the same direction. But you can kind of get it to a point where it's like, oh, they do this once every 3 days.
Yep.
They come through here.
And for us, it's different because we can scout. Most of our spots are right here. I mean, from my house, I can hit 90% of my spots in 35 minutes.
Sure. But I will say this: when it comes to deer, when I'm deer hunting, there's nothing that drives me more crazy than dealing with turkeys, though. Like, it bugs the shit out of me.
That's why I got a fall tag.
Yeah. I know. Like, are you talking like during archery season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you can't do it with rifle.
No. Every
You
year
blow
I've
that
got
thing
a
in
chance.
half.
Well, yeah, you could. I was actually I was going to check to see if it's still open. I thought it was still open through Gun Deer. I've got a spot that has a ton. I was going to go shoot one tonight before the show, and then I'm like, no, that just sounds like a mess.
But I had, like I said, when they were coming down or when they go back to roost at night and I'm sitting there in the stand and you're hearing this rustling, it sounds like and it's like, well, this isn't a squirrel, right?
Yeah.
And then you listen and it gets closer and closer. And then you kind of got your binoculars up.
It's
and
a turkey pointer.
And it's just this massive, like, flock of turkeys. And you're like, God dang it. And then you're thinking, though, too, like, when you got 50 turkeys coming through, that's gonna, if there's any deer over in that area, it's gonna kind of probably push them a little
You
bit.
would think, yeah.
Because, I mean, deer and turkey, they don't like to intermingle a whole lot.
But they use each other.
They do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Every time, I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times that deer have screwed up my turkey hunts for me.
Yep.
Well, they'll walk right in between me and a bird coming in.
Yep.
And then they'll come back. Once that bird starts coming back, that deer will coming back. I'm like, are you guys working together here? Like, what is going on? Like, did the turkeys hire the deer as security? Because that's what it seems
Honestly,
like.
They trade off during their seasons.
Seriously,
I've got story after story. I mean, where I've barrel rolled and I've belly crawled only to have deer come within, like, from me to Luke away.
Yep.
And just
It's 'cause it's not
completely
deer
blow
season.
up,
They completely forget.
blow up my freaking turkey hunt. It's unbelievable.
They have the schedule. They have.
They have to.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, they have to.
No way.
Anyways,
Back to deer.
back to deer. So yeah, let's address the elephant in the room here. And the elephant I'm speaking of is that we are here in Wisconsin and we just finished up with the 9-day gun season.
They're still Metro.
There's still Metro. That's still going on.
Yep. And muzzleloader, I guess, but
And muzzleloader is currently going on right now as well. But if you're on social media and if you're following us, you probably know exactly where I'm going with this. What am I going to say, Nick?
that it gets better and better every year here. The deer numbers and
The deer
harvest
numbers are
gets
just
better.
out of control. There's
too many.
deer everywhere. There's too many deer. Right,
Yeah.
Johnny?
Oh yeah.
Is that where I'm going? Yeah.
Must be.
Yeah, let's talk deer numbers because that is a hot topic issue this week. The DNR has released the numbers, and what do we got here? I think let me pull this up here once.
Definitely decreased. That's for sure.
So for the Wisconsin Gun Deer Harvest 2023. 173,942.
You know, on paper, that sounds really big.
2022 was 212,214.
So 40,000 more.
The 20-year average was 346,118. An 18% drop from last year, a 49.7% drop for the 20-year average.
Weird.
I mean, so let's talk about this here for a second because everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a thought on why the deer harvest, because the DNR is still reporting, 1.5 million
Yeah.
deer every year. I mean, based on however they come up with that number. And I'm not saying I disagree with that number. I mean, I think a lot of fingers get pointed at the DNR and whether we're mismanaging the herd. I kind of feel like the DNR macro manages it, and I think that's somewhat out of their control because of budgets. If you guys get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, like what the budget is in terms of for the DNR So they're kind of macro managing instead of micromanaging. Instead of doing data based on county by county, they're doing it more regionally.
See, the thing is, I heard rumors, now I don't know if this is true, that insurance companies in certain towns and areas, especially metro, are giving money to the DNR to harvest more deer.
This is a perfect time to pour some bourbon, I'll tell you that much.
To harvest more deer. And the biggest thing that most people that I talked about agreed with me on some of this. My cousin, we actually had it while I was in the tree stand, had the conversation about it. I didn't agree with a lot of things that the DNR did growing up. The earn-a-buck thing, forcing hunters that are kind of management hunters to shoot deer. I didn't like that. They did that for a while, kind of got over that. In my opinion, I wish that Wisconsin would do what other states do, where it seems unfair that other out-of-staters can get tags for relevantly cheap. But if I want to go to Iowa, if I want to go to South Dakota duck hunting, if I want to go out to Colorado, I have to wait 2 years. We have great hunting here. Don't get me wrong. We have deer in numbers. But why is that everybody and I'm not complaining, they get their money. Why can't everybody just come here and buy tags for everything we do here over the counter? But anytime I want to leave my state, I've got to wait 2 to 8 years.
I just went to Illinois. It was $450
Yeah.
for a buck tag for
Yep.
a bow.
$450. I thought it was $550.
It was right around 500.
Oh, comment.
We got a comment.
Steve Schwartz says, CWD, ding, ding, ding.
Blue tongue.
Well, right, as the excuse,
Yeah.
Yeah.
as the fall guy, if you will.
Yep. And I always hear people too try and do the same thing that Minnesota does, where it's, I forgot, 6-8 points or bigger, to try and get our deer bigger here because they complain that a lot of people shoot smaller deer. I get that. I didn't like the earn a buck. I'm not a big fan of how many tags they hand out to every resident. I think every household, and I know people that have family that doesn't hunt and they can use their tags, and they do use their tags. There's things like that. We don't need that many tags. No one needs what we talked about before. It's 6-8 tags for deer.
Like I said, yeah, I don't remember how many doe tags I got this year. Because honestly, I didn't look because I don't really care.
Yeah.
But I know in previous years, between Mike and I, archery hunting and gun hunting on one property, 190 acres, we could take 16 does and 4 bucks
That's astronomical to me.
between the two of us
And it's not, I guess,
on
it's,
190 acres.
for me, it's not the people that own land, the people that lease land, because I know those people are going to be managing it correctly. And I know that there's people that don't have the opportunity to have that hunt public. They do drives and they shoot deer and they feed their family because people don't shoot deer. I get that. All I'm trying to do is I'd like to have some common sense things that make it better for everybody, public
for the
and private.
future.
Because, yeah, we used to go to 1995. I was going up to Bayfield County, and we all would tag out. We'd see deer. Like, it was nothing. Now it's a ghost town. I used to go to the Holcomb Flow with my uncle a couple of years ago. It used to be really good. It's been getting worse because people fill up tailgates full of deer. People go, and they, again, if you're eating them, that's great. I just feel like that there's
Rack
different
'em and
things.
stack 'em.
Different things we should do. People out of state, and I'm not trying to be rude to you. If I have to pay years of points and wait years to go hunt another state, you should do the same thing coming to my state.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, I get the whole racking them up north and stuff or whatever, but the wolves play a factor.
Exactly,
And
and that's
they
a big
do
thing I brought
not
in.
want to talk about it.
No, they don't.
They say, oh, we only got a few thousand wolves in Wisconsin. Well, open up the season. Look how many were shot.
Yeah,
Look how many were shot.
and look how many were shot that weren't registered.
Exactly.
When you're talking about the wolf hunt that we had
For 1 year,
was like
Yeah.
2 years maybe.
for what 2.5 days?
Not, yeah, I think.
It was 2.5 days. It was supposed to be like a seven or 9 day hunt or whatever.
Yep.
Whatever it was, they shut it down after like 2.5 days at the 3-day mark because they already exceeded
Yeah.
the limit
Yeah.
at that point. If that doesn't tell you right there what the wolf number is at
Yep.
and how it's out of control,
Yep.
and now we've gone X amount of years now without a wolf
Yep.
hunt, and this is all
What kills a wolf, by the way? Besides a human.
bad winters,
Maybe a bad winter.
Not even,
Yeah.
not much.
I was
I
gonna
mean,
say,
because they're gonna kill everything.
So you got wolves, you got coyotes, you got cars. I mean, it sucks, but cars hit them. So I mean, it's adding up to it. And you notice that's a thing, and that's the other thing I brought up to my cousin was, why did we introduce wolves back in Wisconsin? I get they used to be here, but what good are they doing? They're hurting cattle, they were hurting sheep, they were taking all people's bear dogs. What was the point of reintroducing them? It was great that they were here. Cool. Yeah. Back in the day when there wasn't as many people and there wasn't as many things dying from them. Sure. Why now? What was the point of bringing them back? And again, in my opinion, I think that insurance companies came to the DNR and said, reduce the population so we have less car accidents. We pay out less money.
Okay. All right.
It's a rumor that I heard. I don't know if it's true. But
I know. I believe the insurance companies have to have a lot to do in terms of the deer population as whole. I don't think that they're necessarily pro wolf. I think that's your special interest groups.
Yeah,
those are people in California. Those are people on the coast and stuff like that actually don't have to deal with these animals.
No.
People in a county here in Wisconsin that we don't like to talk about, a 10 square mile vicinity, kind of in the central part of the state, that has a sometime good football and basketball team, but other than that, pretty useless.
Start with an M.
Sorry, I said that. But anyways, in terms of the wolves and insurance companies, I don't know if it's that. I do think that they push the deer numbers to be dropped for sure.
And you got to look
because they lose tons of money on that.
Oh yeah.
But back to like, why do we introduce them? Why do we introduce elk back into Wisconsin if we're going to let the wolf? I mean,
That too. That was so pointless.
We have elk here to feed the wolves.
They're never going to grow. The population never grow with wolves. Without that, we could actually almost get to the point where in 20 years from now, we could have seen the chance at easier to draw a tag.
I think even less than that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, without wolves, yeah.
I mean, they had a limited elk hunt.
Yeah. Yep.
Very, very limited. And so 20 years from now, without the wolves, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, you got urban sprawl. That's going to affect things as well. But the wolf population is completely out of control in the state. There are documented herds south of Portage already.
Oh, absolutely. And they're pushing the deer down to the cities.
Yeah, they are.
That's why there's more car accidents from it.
I've talked to DNR officials, and I'm not going to name names or whatever, and this was already 5, 6, 7 years ago, that said they would not argue a wolf sighting in any county in the state of Wisconsin.
Yep.
In that, because you're going to get roamers and stuff like that,
Even like cougars too. I mean, we got a couple of those roaming around.
Right.
And they don't want to talk about it.
No, they don't. I know bobcats don't do much damage, but I actually seen one in person in my food plot.
They'll kill.
3 years ago.
They'll kill fawns
Yeah, they
and
will.
stuff for sure.
I did. I seen when I sat there. I'm like, what the hell? And I sent pictures and videos. My buddy's like, that's a bobcat. I'm like, in West Bend. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, I mean, I got bobcats every season.
Down here?
No, in Marquette County.
Oh, okay.
In that. Always, constantly. And which is, to me, it's not really that big of a deal.
No,
yeah, they
no,
might,
they're-
one might
Coyotes
take
will
a fawn
take
or
out more
something.
than a bobcat.
Yeah,
in my
absolutely. Right. They're going after a lot of smaller game. So the numbers we're talking about this year, in terms of, so one of the arguments is that the amount of hunters that we have, right?
Yeah.
And there's also been people saying like, oh, we have tons of hunters. We have
like we used to.
There's people that legitimately believe that we have as many hunters as we've ever had. And that because of the boom in social media, because hunters are now, because we have stuff like this, we have these podcasts, we have these shows, we have like hunting's gotten very, very popular.
Yeah.
So the statistic for this year for gun license, or actually license in general for Wisconsin was 788,697, which is just under 1% fewer than last year, right? Now, with that said, so
How many of them are over 13 years old?
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. So somebody who had posted this, I had made the comment because I'm like, you know what? We do have less hunters than that. Like because that's down by less than 1%, let's really look at where the numbers are, right? So what I looked at was that of that 788,000 plus, only 434,000 were from gun license this year.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Only 434,000 gun license this year, right? So that's down from 564 plus thousand just 4 years ago in 2019. That's a loss of 130,000 hunters and license from 2019. Yeah. That's a significant amount. That's 23%.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
23%. That's almost 1 out of every 4 hunters has stopped hunting. Am I right?
Yeah.
23 is
why
really
though they're
close
not
to
shooting
25.
anything.
I mean,
Right.
I look at it this way. I go up north, in Minocqua. I see more wolves than deer. That's the true fact. In the past 4 years,
I want
I've
to
seen
know,
more wolves than deer.
do you see more orange than not? I mean, do you see more or less orange? Like when you're driving up to hunting camp or whatever, when you're looking at clotheslines.
I seen way less orange this year than I ever have. And I didn't go up this year like I did last year with my family. I stayed down here just because I brought my box blind down and I wanted to hunt out of that because I'm getting old and the joints hurt. That wasn't the reason. I just was going to save some money. But there was 18 of them up there by the Holcomb flowage on public and private, and they harvested in 3.5 days a goose egg.
Dude, so 2 of our main bars in our town, they had, your buck raffle or, your biggest buck.
Yeah, the buck pool.
Yeah. So you're thinking, you go to the bar, you'll have, 20, 30 bucks or whatever. There's a bunch of people. I mean, there's like 250 people registered. 1 buck.
Oh, my God. That lucky guy.
Yeah, 1 buck. It was 11-pointer.
He probably won a crap ton of money because he probably took first, second, and third.
Dude.
Was that just opening weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still,
usually
Right,
so
which
that's
is
nuts.
where,
I mean, usually people get, if you get your first buck in, you get a free bottle of booze or whatever. And people rush,
You got everything.
They shoot that spiker and they rush in there. But dude, 1 deer. That's it.
that's crazy. I mean, in 2018, there was 576 plus thousand tags. So it dropped significantly even from 2018 to 2019.
Yeah.
One theory is that because of crossbows, more guys are getting into archery hunting.
Boy, it's going to bring up another touchy subject for Nick.
Oh, it's a touchy subject for me. Now, as a disabled crossbow hunter myself,
Yeah.
as somebody who can't raise my left arm over my head, and I hated stating this fact on this forum that I did, and I'm not going to mention where I posted all these stats on because it's real irrelevant. But just generally speaking, I think are more people getting into archery hunting, whether it be with a compound or a crossbow, because
Absolutely.
the weather is better.
Absolutely.
You have the influx of the hunting public,
Yes.
the hunting beast, all these different groups, whitetail adrenaline included. I mean, there's a lot of them out there
I never thought about this. Now that you're bringing this up, this
that
makes
are
me think a different way.
that are really kind of promoting archery hunting.
Yeah. You got a lot more time.
It's a better time you have a lot more time.
You got the rut.
You have the rut, better weather, all these different factors. Are more people harvesting their deer? I mean, and quite honestly, what are we saying? How many deer does somebody need, right, to feed their family and things like that? For me, two deer is enough. 3, I'm donating some to some churches for chili cook-offs, and
Yeah.
I always give some venison to the guy at least from the landowner and
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely.
Because he uses it for chili cook-offs and different things with his church and stuff. Not cook-offs, but
No, I
stuff
hear
to
Cookouts
feed
and stuff, yeah.
feed the less fortunate. So say somebody says, well, one deer is all I need. Why not get it during archery season? You know, why don't I take it up? Whether
a lot
it be
easier.
with a compound or with a crossbow, you know, and the anti-crossbow people are going to jump all over this and be like, well, yeah, of course they're going to take the cross gun out there. You know, they're going to take the shoulder mounted scoped, you know, yeah, go ahead, Luke. You said you got a comment there. Just jump in. You don't gotta just interrupt, man.
Sarah Biskobing says archery is in schools now too, and that might play a part.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Archery is it's getting popular in all aspects.
Oh yeah.
And of course, I'm not going to disagree with the fact that it's easier for people to pick up a crossbow and just go out and do it. The weather's usually typically nicer than that. I know. What are your guys' thought on that?
My thinking is like, okay, think about it. If you're gonna go kill your buck that you've been looking at, you've been chasing, when are you gonna chase it? During gun season, during bow season?
Right.
Bow.
Bow.
Hands down.
I mean, everybody knows that. So
First week of October to basically the second week of November.
yeah. So I mean, a lot of people get introduced like through gun season just because it's easier with a kid. I mean, he can pull back a bow. Nowadays with crossbows though, you know, like my younger cousin, he shot a monster buck with his crossbow. But it's I don't know. I feel like you definitely can shoot bigger bucks during bow season than deer season.
Let me ask you this. How did you feel about him shooting that with a crossbow? Did it bother you?
No.
Did you feel like, well, I've been doing it with a compound? And that, like, did you feel any lesser because he shot a bigger buck than you did?
No. I think it's awesome because it's about the experience. You know,
Right.
that's what it
That's
is.
what you guys are about.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if you're doing it in a legal way and you're doing it, you know, as a younger kid, I mean, 13,
I'm that devil's
14-year-old
advocate.
kid.
All right, here
That's
we go.
fine. That's cool. I want to hear it.
Not from a kid. Not from a
No,
kid's
but
point
like
of
a
view.
kid, you know, I would rather see a kid smoke a deer
Oh, absolutely.
than wound that buck and never find it, and that sucker dies in a field somewhere and you never find it.
Yeah.
I'd rather have him kill it.
Yeah.
But there's to a point.
Yeah.
I want to hear it.
That's the
Let's
thing.
let it
So
rip.
growing up, I had to use obviously a compound or a recurve or whatever. I mean, I grew up with a compound. Shot my first doe. It was great. Awesome.
Yeah, me too.
Growing up now, you know, it was nice that they pushed the crossbow open. At first I was like, okay, because my father-in-law had bad shoulders, but he wasn't able to get a crossbow because it wasn't medically enough to get one. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I'm not talking down to anybody. You can do what you want. It's your tag. This is my personal opinion. And I don't want people to get upset about it because this is what I feel like. If you're an able-bodied person and you're between the ages of like 20 and I'll even say it's 40, 45. If you're healthy and you have no shoulder problems and you have the time to go hunting, you have the time to practice the compound. You got the time to go out and shoot a target. Again, in all health, knees, everything. You can walk. Nothing wrong with you at all. And you have the time to go hunting. You have the time to practice archery. I'm not counting the people that work 80 hours a week that don't have time to practice. If you don't have time to practice with a compound, get a crossbow. You need a crossbow because if you don't shoot, you're not going to be accurate and you're going to wound. I'm fine with that. Kids especially, absolutely. Get them in, build up their confidence. Let them start shooting some because nothing's going to deter a kid more than when they wound 1 or 2 deer with their compound because they're forced to use a compound than that. Give them a crossbow. My kids are going to start with a crossbow. Absolutely. I'm not going to let them start with a compound because I want them to have success and be excited and shoot it and go. So, yes, I'm not 100% for crossbows, but I'm definitely not against it. I just feel, and again, there's no law that can prevent what I'm feeling and what I personally think as a person.
And a lot
is
of people
that.
feel the way you do.
Yeah,
So,
that's it. So that's all I'm thinking. I don't want a law to ban crossbows. No, because I want kids to have success. And I want adults that don't have the time to practice because you have to practice shooting. If you think you're going to shoot 2 times a year and you're going to go out there and you're going to shoot a deer, sure, you can. You're probably going to wound a deer. And I don't want that to happen for you, and I don't want it to happen for me where I hunt. So I'd rather you have a crossbow and kill and harvest that deer. But if you're a person that has the time, you go out 60-plus times bow hunting, and you get home from work and you got an hour of light, I want you to practice, and I'd prefer you to use a compound. And then people always say, well, then people like you should use a recurve. No, I suck with a recurve and I prefer not to wound deer. It goes back to crossbow to compound to recurve.
Yeah.
If I used a recurve, I'd wound deer. I feel more comfortable with this. Whatever you feel comfortable with, use it. I'm not hating on anybody. But yeah, does it make a little sour taste in my mouth when there's someone that's like 26 years old, healthier than shit, big, bulky guy, and he's got a crossbow? Yeah, that kind of sucks. It's not my spot.
Bring it back to the experience too. I talked to my boss, my past boss, and he can't pull back a bow no more, so he uses a crossbow.
Yeah.
So shooting a bow with shooting a deer with a compound compared to a crossbow. When you shoot a deer with a compound, the adrenaline rush is times 10.
It's unreal. Yeah.
So like when I look at it as the experience wise, you're gonna get a better experience by using a compound because it's more of a challenge. You can't shoot that deer at 60 yards.
Yep.
You have to. You might see it.
I've killed deer with compound at 60 yards.
Well, you're just a mastermind.
No, I mean, I will say this, right? I have killed multiple deer at 50 plus yards with the compound. I was really good. I used to shoot 3D archery league and stuff. I
love it.
Not to toot my own horn, but yeah, I had no qualms.
Yep.
Shooting a crossbow now because I have to after a really bad, the shoulder's destroyed from a snowmobile accident. I can't use a climber or use a hang-on stand, a lockdown stand, and that with my crossbow and expect to shoot anything with that isn't within 30 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't have a rest for it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, so for me, 40 yard. I don't even think about a 40-yard shot, and that's with the crossbow, even with the rest. I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I was super comfortable with that with the compound.
Yeah.
And everybody's different.
Right. And everybody is. One of the biggest I think it's a big misconception is that because some of these crossbow companies out there are advertising, and I'm gonna say Raven for one. Like their tagline is absolutely just shot him in the foot almost in a lot of ways, like shoots like a rifle, sure. You can go on YouTube right now and pull up hundreds of videos of guys shooting compounds.
Yep.
Or at 100 yards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they're slinging them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I shot my antelope 2 years ago. I just actually posted it on my Instagram. I shot it at 83 yards.
Yeah.
I practiced up to 100.
As long as you're practicing and you're
exactly.
comfortable
And it went
with
35 yards and dropped dead.
Absolutely.
I was confident. I could hit both that big at 100 yards.
That's awesome. And again, for me, like I want those deer up close. I want them 35. I mean, it would have to be an absolutely perfect situation to even take a 40-yard shot with my crossbow. And I'm being 100% honest. And I felt like this. And now my crossbow is from 2018. It's a Darton. I mean, it's a really nice, at the time, it's like a $1,600 crossbow and that.
Jeez.
I'll tell you what, every time my buddy Mike and I walk out in the woods, I'm like, you want to carry my crossbow? I'm like, because the weight of the thing is just, I get excited for gun season because I'm like, I get to carry something that's half the weight of my crossbow. Now I understand, like there's newer ones out there now and they're lighter and that. And at a certain point, we're going to be at a fault point with technology.
Yeah.
And that goes even with compounds. Every year. This new Matthews that's out there right now, we're talking 90+% let off on these compounds.
I'm still shooting my 2014 Hoyt.
Sure, right. But the technology is getting insane.
Yeah. Even
on the compound side. You have sights now that have built-in rangefinders in them. Let's not kid ourselves. Like if you want to spend the money, and that goes on both sides, on the crossbow side and the compound, you're going to get the argument, but you got to draw back and stuff. Yeah, but the easier it gets to draw back, the less movement there is. You know what I mean? Like there's always, I'm not going to lie, because I was a bow hunter for many years before I had to shoot a crossbow. but there's disadvantages as well because I can't be as mobile as I used to be.
Yeah.
You know, ladder stands is where my comfort level is. So I've got to spend a shit ton of money on putting up more and more ladder stands in spots because otherwise it's really hard outside of 20 yards to hold that steady because it's a lot more front heavy than like a rifle is.
Yep.
You know, rifle, all your weight's here in the back, you know. And with me, with this being this arm, it's that weight going down. That's me personally. So my issue with when people talk down about crossbows is, or they want to truncate time periods, right? So like designated seasons for crossbows. That's the thing that really bothers me.
That sounds like just a shit show.
I mean, because,
I don't think they should do that.
No.
Because that would take me out of the rut.
Yeah.
Is what they want.
They put it early season and then maybe late season.
If they're going to do something like that, again, if anybody's trying to push for a crossbow season, go back to what it was that if you're, I would say, they didn't have this before, if you're under the age of, let's say, before youth, once you hit out of youth, no more crossbow anymore. And then if you have a shoulder issue, arm, whatever, you can't pull back, let the medical doctors say, if you feel this way and you have a problem, I don't see it on paper, but fine. If you're going to go through and you have a doctor tell you that, fine, here's your receipt so you can get a crossbow, I'm okay with it. If you're that determined that you want a crossbow that bad and you're healthy enough to have a compound and you can use it and you go through all that work to do it, totally fine. Keep all the seasons the same way. But if you have an issue and you're over the age of the youth hunt, try for the compound. That's my only thing. Don't change the season. That's so stupid.
Right, I agree because
that's dumb.
I will say this to anybody that wants to get into it. Like, I don't care at the end of the day.
No, I don't either.
I don't feel like, and this goes back to when I was able to shoot compound. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't feel greater and you shouldn't feel lesser. Because first off, I don't care about scoring and all that kind of stuff, of bucks and that. Like, if that's why you're hunting, because if it's an ego thing, well, you're doing it for the wrong fucking reason.
That's social media. That's what it all brought up. Never had that before that.
You didn't care. And I'm sorry. Like that really bothers me. Like, who cares? Boone and Crockett's not going to recognize crossbow.
No.
Pope and Young doesn't, so who cares?
Yeah.
What difference does it make?
Yeah.
You know, be proud of whatever it is you do. Getting kind of ahead of myself here, or behind myself, one of the two. When I shot compound, I did feel a certain way a little bit.
Yeah.
That way too. So I get it about the crossbow thing. It's like, yeah, no, I like compound. It's a thing. Now that I'm on the other side of it, it's like what I want to see from new hunters, adult, able-bodied hunters. If you want to try to get into hunting and you want to start out with a crossbow, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, just to see if this is your thing.
No, that's it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to shade on anybody
but you're
or anything.
going to miss out on so much appreciation if you don't go to a compound.
Yeah.
The experience.
The experience.
Just
of
the
it.
experience.
One of the biggest regrets I have about my accident in that is that I don't get to just go out and grab my bow and take it out of the case and fling a dozen arrows.
Yeah.
Just for the fun of it.
And you can shoot a dozen
not
like
because not
that.
for practice. You know, not for practice, just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
You know,
That's what 3D shoots are about. They're not about really practice, it's about having fun.
Exactly. 3D archery league, I didn't care about beating anybody. It was the fun of being out there and flinging
different
arrows.
targets that you can't afford. I mean, those things, some of those targets are like $800. Those big mooses.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It'd be noon on a mid-October day, and we're the bow hunting camp is back there. We're eating lunch and that, and we'd blow up little balloons and set a target up at 40 yards or whatever, and we'd set them up. And it wasn't for practice. I mean, it ends up being practice.
Just for fun.
Just for fun. And we'd sit there and pop balloons on the target.
Nope.
That you can't do that with a crossbow. You only get so many shots out of a crossbow before you have to, you know. And it's just not the same. You know, it's not the same.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, please, if you want to get into archery, and you want to start out with a crossbow, that's fine. I don't care. If you want to continue, I don't care. It's no skin off my back.
No.
But if you're able to, get yourself a compound. It is so much more fun to shoot a bow, to draw that back and shoot.
Yeah.
I miss that. I cannot express it enough how much I miss just grabbing my bow and shooting, flinging some arrows.
Yeah. And the last thing that I'll say about it, again, I'm not trying to shit anybody. If you want to, do what you want. It's your tag. You have the right. I don't agree with, shutting that down. I got a buddy that went from a compound to a recurve, said I'll never go back to compound. Same thing. When I try and sit here and I try and, to some people, talk high and mighty about, compound hunters, you shouldn't do this. There's people using recurve out there. And I'm using a compound. So at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's just everybody looking at each other. If you want to shoot whatever you want to shoot, I don't care at the end of the day. The only thing I care about, you already brought up, was the whole record book thing. I don't believe personally that a crossbow should be in any record book because it's been going back for so long. That was the only thing. Other than that, have fun. If you feel comfortable with a crossbow and you're scared to go to compound, then don't do it. Stay happy.
Right. And with that said, like if I shot some sort of hell, I don't care. If I shot a 120 inch, or I mean a 200 inch buck, in that, and I don't get to be in a book.
Do you really care?
Do I care?
It's
At the end
about
of the
your
day,
experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares about what other people
My
think?
God, I like the fact that I have it. That's all that matters.
It's sitting on your wall.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna tell you a little something about me, about how many Fs I give about other people when it comes to that kind of stuff. I give zero.
Yeah.
Zero Fs.
Absolutely.
I don't care, and I don't think anybody should. Like,
It's about your experience.
Right.
Well, the problem
And
is, too,
you're
back in the
missing
day,
out.
a lot of those big bucks that were shot were poached.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the biggest thing. Like, people are like, geez, look at these things. Well, back in the day,
Fabricated
one, there wasn't as many
stories.
hunters,
Yeah.
and two, they were poached. So we were sitting there like, golly, look at those things. Look what they shot it with back in the day. Yeah, back in the day, there wasn't DNR and people watching. These people were driving around at night
That was
with
back
freaking
after
headlights
the
on their
bar.
cars.
After
Yeah.
the bar, they were
investigations
rifling
now.
around.
And they're shooting these things and all their buddies. There's only 6 buddies with them, and no one ratted on them because there's no social media back in the day. That's how half this stuff happened. I mean, let's be real. Why do you think there hasn't been record books set like they used to be back in the day? Yes, there's more hunters. Yes, it's different
Those
times.
big bucks
but
are smart, man.
yeah, you know how many times you're driving around at night, you're like, man, I haven't seen much, and all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, and you see that giant buck, and you're like, oh, well, shit, I could be in the record books right now. Who would know?
Right?
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of those things are, and there's all the rumors about, the muskies and deer and stuff. So,
I mean, there's something to be said about the guys that are able to shoot 200-inch plus deer year after year. Or, I mean, not year after year, but like on a somewhat, like a guy like Stan Potts, right? Like that guy's a legend. The guy who shot multiple bucks over 200 inches. Like that's great. Those are great accolades. And I don't begrudge that. And if that's what you're doing it for, that's fine. I'm just saying for me personally, I don't, if I shoot a giant buck, I don't need all the accolades. I'm not looking like, oh, I shot, because you could send a kid out, your 14-year-old son or daughter out into a odd end of your property.
yeah.
And they shoot a giant buck. Does that mean that they're going to get all these big endorsements and all that or whatever? It's just, it's luck, it's happenstance, it's being in the right place, the right time. In those instances, Luke, you have a buddy that shot a giant, or not your friend, but a friend of a friend, right?
Yes, that's correct.
What county was that in? That was in...
I want to say Mason County, Ohio, I think.
Is there a Clark County, Ohio?
Yeah, there's a Clark County.
I feel like it was Clark. I don't. Do you guys see that giant buck that was killed in Ohio? What did I send you the other day? How many gross inches was that? 2. I mean, it was well over. I mean, I think typical was like 207. It was like 226.
Jeez.
It was 235 7/8 gross.
Oh,
206 7/8 net typical.
It's a magnum.
my God.
That's green score. After I think January 30th is when it's going to get officially scored.
That's the other thing I hate. The whole deductions and the whole green score crap.
I mean, the scoring.
Golly.
It is what it is.
I know some guys are really into that stuff. And that's great. And they're like, well, you'd be in it too if you'd shoot something worth a damn.
Right?
I'm like, it's as big as what is it? The eye of the
ego
beholder.
thing.
That's all it is.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah. Every year I shoot like
don't
a
know.
100 to a 120 inch
I mean,
buck.
it's
and-
cool. Like, you want to get
is.
scored. You
It
want to be
is
like,
cool.
damn, that's right. I shot that.
Yeah, but it's better than you don't. Because like even the one I got this year, I was like, I'm not going to get scored. My uncle came over and he scored him, and we've only scored a handful, or he has. I shouldn't say I. And we scored, and I'm like, oh shit, I thought I was bigger. And then I was like, womp womp.
Well, what did it score?
I think it was 144 and something.
That was that was a 10 point.
11.
11.
Yeah.
11. Yeah.
Yeah. That was
That was a
not what I expected. You know what's even sadder? We were hunting from where he came out of probably 150 yards away, and we shot a 3-man limit of ducks just banging away. Came out, drove my truck right where my tree stand is, walked out, threw all my crap in there, drove away, and I was texting everybody that I could. Want to go duck hunting, want to go do something. I'm not going to sit in my tree stand because nothing's going to come out. I just banged up my spot. Thank God to all my friends that didn't show up and didn't want to go hunting. I'm like, I've literally sat in my tree stand just texting people. I'm like, well, better than just sitting at home doing nothing. And I literally put my phone down. This sounds bad. I look and I'm like, oh, look at that. There's a freaking deer. I'm like, oh, cool. Oh. And I'm like, no. And then he came walking my way. I'm like, oh, that's him. That's the one. And I'm like, he's going to go crossfield like the other bucks have, teasing me all year, much smaller bucks. And he came walking, he's sitting there at 40 yards, and I'm like, just closing my eyes, just sitting there shaking, like, just stop. Don't look at him.
Don't look at him.
I peek one eye. I'm like, no, oh, God, no. I'm like, he's at 40 yards, and he's at 35, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I literally couldn't shoot because I was just sitting there like this the whole time. Like, he's going to see me sitting here shaking, and I'm not going to be able to draw back. Oh, it was bad. Thank God I was in a big enough tree. And then, yeah, I made a shot that was, in my opinion, terrible, and it was middle of the body up high, and I must have hit an artery. I shot, and I took my time, just sitting there nice and relaxed, and I'm like, right behind the shoulder, I'm like, oh, you're mine. I went,
Oh, you pulled.
I pulled trying to do the stupid arrow watch, the stupid thing. So I went, boom, and I watched the arrow go about that far below his spine, middle of the body. I literally hung my bow up, and I went like this. Okay, I'm going to cry now. He ran about 35 yards, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, he's just standing there looking around, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I should probably grab another arrow. And I grabbed my bow, and I'm like, for some reason, I put my hand back down. I'm like, why are you just standing there? I'm like, I just shot you. Like, it was a terrible shot. Like, this wasn't where I would want it to be. And all of a sudden, he looks up like this to the left. Boom. Drops, and I sat there, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, no way. Then all of a sudden, it was, the whole damn tree was shaking. I was getting excited, and I started calling everybody. I'm like, I just shot this buck. I'm like, I didn't make the shot that I wanted it to be, but I dropped. And my uncle, go check right now. Go walk up there. Go check on it. I'm like, no. I'm like, I got to wait a little bit. So I waited like 35 minutes. I just sat there staring and just staring. I was like texting like this. So I could look down and look up. And then finally I went walking up. And of course, like me and my buddies made fun of me. I drew back and I walked up. And it was still shooting light. And they weren't there. Nobody was there. It was by myself. I walked up full draw. He's laying there. And I went and kicked him in the ass and I stepped back.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, one more time. Kicked him in the ass again. I stepped back and I'm like, no way. I'm like, come on. I went walking up and then everybody showed up after that point. But I was like, just, I guess, lucky. It wasn't a bad shot. Don't get me wrong. It was still high lung, but it was not where I wanted it to be. And for him to only go 35 yards and drop was like, what?
Dude, it was like my buck this year too. Like, so when I shot him, he mule kicked, which is always a great sign. You know, that's what you want to see. And it was so windy that morning, and he bounded off, and I was hunting really close to a bedding area. I mean, I tucked myself in tight.
Yep.
But the wind was right for it, and it was high winds, so I could get in there without making a bunch of noise. And when I shot, I saw him bound like 15 yards, and then he was like in deep cover where I couldn't see.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear him crash or anything. So I'm like, felt like a great shot.
Yeah.
It sounded great. Everything sounded perfect. But the whole time, like, if you can't see him, you're second guessing, right?
Where'd I hit?
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're like, oh, you know, you go from like, I was confident and like, but what if?
Yep.
What if this? What if that? And then you're just already like
the worst
to the
feeling.
point
It
where
is.
like you're almost getting
It's
out of your
terrible.
stand, and you're like,
I
the
just
worst
lost
fucking
him.
hunter ever.
Yeah, I lost him. It's gone.
Right, and like for no reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you ever lost one, you understand
know that feeling.
You know that feeling. So you're already setting yourself up
Yep.
for failure.
Well, it's even worse when you think like I made the best shot. I've had 2 buddies this year when I was tracking their deer. I made the best shot of my life. It's dead. Never found it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrecks your mind more than that right there.
Right, exactly. So I get out and then you know, we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago with Mike. We go up to find mine, and now at this point, because I said it was windy and it had been several hours, the blood had dried up really, and the leaves were turning over. So I'm like, oh man, this is like what I felt like was going to be a slam dunk. And I saw him jump over this deadfall, and then I'm trying to crawl over it, but I'm like trying to make sure I see blood. And I'm like, I'm looking where I think he might have gone. Mike's like, he's right there. And I'm like,
That's so relieving.
he almost went in a 15-yard circle, but it was so thick right there.
Yeah.
Like he didn't go 20 yards. Like
Problem is, too, your eyes are focused on leaves, not looking up.
Didn't go 20.
Didn't go 20.
But I mean, he didn't go 20, and he just went in this small little circle and just like crashed hard, and he was done. And I should have been able to see that. I mean, he was dead within seconds, and within 45 yards of my stand, if that.
But you just couldn't see him because
But I couldn't see him
I'll
because
say,
that's how
I'm
thick I
convinced
was.
when you
hunting.
shoot something, your brain just goes mush.
Right.
Like you just lose all, like, it's like everything goes numb in your body and your mind. You're just like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah, this side's saying this side's like, oh, you made
Yeah.
a good shot. No, you didn't. Yes, you did. No,
You're
I
not gonna
didn't. Yes, I
find
did.
him.
You suck at hunting. No, you don't. You're okay. No, you're terrible.
Everybody's going to quote box in the tree stand and say, oh, wait, way to go losing the big buck that we all wanted to shoot. Nice job.
But I mean, that's just the thing. All right, real quick though, back to these deer numbers in Wisconsin. What if you're going to name the top 3 reasons outside of wolves? What are the other 3 reasons that you would say that this particular season that the numbers were down
for gun deer.
for gun deer for that 9-day? Yep.
Warmer weather. I know they said that the rut was going to run into it. In my opinion, from what I seen on the properties that I was hunting, I didn't see any rutting activity the week of gun deer and the week before, I should say.
Would you say, if you're going to say rutting activity for that time because the gun season was early, wouldn't it be
Yep.
more lockdown? Closer to
It would be, but even before that, it was like seemed like it was lockdown. I seen them opening up more, and I didn't see them chasing. I was starting to see does on camera coming into my plot 3 to 4 at a time. The week before gun deer, that's not something you see during prime rut or even lockdown season. If there's one of those doe that are hot, that's it. Again, it all depends on how many does and what you got going on. But from what I heard, from what I saw personally, I think that, in my opinion, majority of the rut was 98% done coming into gun deer. It wasn't what we all expected it to be.
wow.
From what I seen, from what I heard from people, I mean, honestly, I didn't see from all my family, friends, and people that I followed, I didn't see a whole lot of good bucks. Like I'm saying, like 120s and bigger shot.
All right, so weather and a rut.
Yep.
3. What else? Number 3. What would number 3 be?
Oh, less hunters.
Less hunters.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
would say so. I mean, driving home from up north, I got a 3.5 hour drive.
You should see deer and people like crazy.
I maybe saw 4 deer on the back of a truck.
Right.
Yeah, it's
So what are you saying? Less hunters?
Oh yeah, less hunters. I would say the weather conditions because it was like an early rut.
Yep.
I would say, and then it was kind of like the back end, kind of half and half, kind of rut deal.
Yeah.
During gun season, like the odds are they're probably not in rut. It was just a weird year. The weather
Yeah.
was so weird. October it got cold. We had a good cold snap.
I thought
And
it was gonna be so great.
good. Yeah.
And that just warmed up again and just kind of seemed like it screwed up ducks and deer and everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Literally on all spectrums, it screwed up everything.
Yeah.
So the reason why I used those stats before with 2019 as a comparison in that, because 2019's weather conditions were very comparable to this season in that. Now, I want to ask you this though. with all of those things being said, right? When was the last time you finished a 9-day gun season? And I'm talking in terms of the social media era, right?
Yep.
When was the last time you heard anybody saying, wow, or like the consensus on social media? I'm not going to name pages or whatever,
Yeah.
but you know what the pages I'm talking about, that people are like, this was a banger year. This was, when was the last time you heard that?
In my lifetime,
Let's say over the last 6 years.
I'll be real honest. Like maybe back in 2018.
I was going to
In
say
2018?
5 years ago, I believe, because I had a good year. Everybody that I knew had a good. I think it was 5 years. My
2018
uncle-
was cold and snowy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. There was a dusting in certain area. Well, Portage and West Bend did. I'd like to say 5 years ago. I'm pretty sure what it was. It was phenomenal from what I heard. If it was 5, it was 6. One of those two. It was.
2017, 2018.
Yeah,
Right
it
there.
was one of those years. I'd have to go and look at my phone to see exactly when it was mind blowing. I seen giant bucks and deer filling up on trailers and trucks.
And you're
Unreal.
talking about the 9-day specifically.
I mean, opening weekend was the biggest thing.
Opening
So, I mean,
weekend,
the
yeah,
9-day
yeah.
was obviously
Yeah, right.
just kept rolling into it, and it was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
great. But, I mean, that opening weekend, I've never seen anything like it
piled them
since
up.
the 90s, personally. And yeah, the last 3 years has been just, from what I've seen and heard, I mean, I shouldn't say it. Last year and the year before was decent from what I saw on social media, but this year is probably the worst that I actually looked into, dug, and tried watching people, what they were shooting and seeing. People on paper that usually do really well that didn't do so hot.
Especially with my social media, like Drama Outdoors, we have a lot of people like that I talk with in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Dude, down.
Yeah.
From even last year, just down. I mean, and a lot of my boys, they grind.
Yeah.
They grind.
Even
Yeah.
archery season seemed like it was slower. I mean, I had a great archery season, so I can't complain. But I'm saying, in general, people that I knew and people that were out, it was a slower archery season. People did good, during the rut again, but it seemed like it was a slow year all around for the deer hunting season from what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say there's a lot of different contributing factors. I think one of the biggest downfalls in general, in terms of deer being killed during gun season, it's already a tough time of year to hunt.
Yeah.
It's post-rut or it's at the
They're
tail
exhausted.
end. There's been a lot of pressure on them already from hunters. And with each passing year, with the more archery hunters that are getting out there, there's more pressure on those deer to find heavy cover.
Yep.
Well, I think one of the things that oftentimes gets overlooked is where we are now in terms of the hunting industry. We have more comfortable stands.
Yeah.
More guys are hunting in really nice blinds. We have better clothing. We have better gear in general.
Cameras that automatically send us stuff so we know what's going on like that rather than checking a chip.
It's not like 20 years ago where
No.
by 8:30, 9 o'clock, you were cold in your stand. Warmer weather obviously plays a contributing factor in that as far as getting hunters moving. If you're comfortable sitting in your stand, what is the goal? Well, I mean, what have you been preached always? Sit longer than the next closest hunter.
Yep.
So everybody's striving to sit longer and longer and longer. Now, don't get me wrong. By gun season, I'm like, when I start getting cold,
It's
like-
either heater on or I'm
like
out.
I've been grinding it during bow. Like I'm up in a tree stand, and if I'm cold by 10 o'clock, 10:30, I'm going back in. I'm going to take a crap. I'm going to get a cup of coffee. I'm going to eat a donut, and I'll be back out there around 1:30. You know what I mean? But I think, back in the day, we didn't have all the luxuries. We didn't have heater bodysuits. We didn't have all these different things that in these creature comforts. We have phones.
Yeah.
The technology.
We have
everything.
phones.
I mean, it's
If
just
you're sitting
crazy.
there with, what's that?
EV Mux is going to shut us off.
Is it?
Yeah, we hit the 2-hour mark.
Okay.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
But yeah, we have technology that keeps us in our stands, keeps us occupied.
Yep.
In those tough times too. But anyways, yes, we we've
Per
gone
usual.
through the gambit here. So with that said, Johnny, thanks a lot for joining us tonight. Nick, thanks for co-hosting once again.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to have you here. And Johnny, it's been a pleasure to have you here.
Cheers, brother.
And all good things to you guys with Drop 'em Outdoors. We look forward to having you back on the show.
Oh, absolutely.
In the future. So thanks to all of our followers for watching tonight. If you're not following us, please do, both on Facebook and on YouTube. But until next time, always outdoors.